Back to the Hot Lap. Today is August 17th. Brady, we're actually doing back-to-back shows for once. What a wild time it is here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's good to be back. Back to back weeks with you, man.
Yeah, always fun. I wish we had more exciting things to talk about, but we really screwed the pooch this past week in our race performance. So, not a lot of great things to say. I don't know. How's your week been, though?
It's been good. Like you said, we screwed the pooch, and I mean, had a lot. We've been busy as far as the admins go for the series. You know, we're trying to get the big Daytona race coming up. Qualifying is going to start a week from today on Thursdays for that event, the NASRA 250 at Daytona. We're working on that, but at the same time, we're working on this race that's going on behind me. A lot of things going on, EOLs, plus trying to get caught up from Friday night's race. Last week at the Milwaukee Mile, we had a lot of wrecks in that race. So we're working overtime here as far as the board goes and the executives at NASRA.
That's for sure, Brady. And on top of that, I would also say some big shakeups. But we have maybe a new appeals handler or appeals person, set point. I don't know what to call him. But
Yeah,
Adam Newbert definitely stepping into a new role here in Nazareth.
yeah. It was a topic today in the executive chat with me, Cody, Huck Wigginton, Jeff Sickles, and Adam Newbert. And you know, Adam's not able to race. He's taken a leave of absence, but he still wants to be a part of the league, which we appreciate. So we came up with this appeal ambassador role for him. There's been a lot of talks about, uh, I'm working too hard and I'm doing too much, spending too much time working on things where I could be working on other things. So Adam stepped up and we appreciate him coming on board. But it's more about you know, TJ gives an EOL to somebody during the race. The EOL report comes out. Guys feel like it's not transparent enough, so they would like, if they can appeal it. And I've always told the guys, look, if you want to appeal something, send it to me. I'll pass it along to the appeals panel and let them discuss and vote on it. But they actually want a process where the driver has more of a voice. Uh, Maybe write out a paragraph or two about how, they felt in that situation, try to win their appeal. Because the only reason why you would appeal something, Tyler, is because you want to win that battle. Because you don't want to give up qualifying or a pass-through penalty or even suspension, which we'll get into later in the show. But it's trying to be more transparent, have the driver more involved with the process, and get the explanation that he somewhat thinks that he deserves, I guess. After the whole process is over, and Adam's going to be kind of that buffer between me and the driver, the team leader, whoever's involved. So Adam's going to kind of run that whole process. So the drivers have been told, get with Adam Dubert going forward. I'm out of it. So
Yeah, that is definitely a big thing, and we appreciate Adam again for all his support. We hope to see him back on the track soon, eventually. But we're gonna kick it off with our Friday night series. Last week they took to the Milwaukee Mile. No timer yet, producer Cody. Uh, we got a lot of talk about Milwaukee Mile, in my opinion, Brady, and it starts with Phil Pappas winning the inaugural race ever in Nazareth at Milwaukee in almost controversial fashion. There was question about whether he changed lanes before the start finish line. The board, as well as most people, I think, would agree he did not. Therefore, the win has stood. But the 85 machine gets into victory lane. First win for BP Racing for Autism on Friday nights. We talked about it before the season. Is BP Racing for Autism for real? And I think they showed it with that win on Friday.
yeah, I mean, look, Phil actually started in the back because he couldn't qualify from the EOL from the week before at New Hampshire. So had to race his way up there. And once he got up there, and I know Keith Bradley won both stages, Joey Doucette was up there, Stephen Thomas was up there, Chris Cinnamon, Jeff Merrick, a lot of guys, Ashley Dotson was up front, and Hunter Port-Timer, was up there. So a lot of guys, showed strength in the beginning of the race, and Phil just kept climbing up the ladder. And once he got to the top five, Tyler, if you were watching the broadcast, you knew he had speed, to get up there and run with the leaders and fight for the lead. And he just so did that, along with, guys like Adam Newton. Adam Newton showed a lot of speed that race, but a lot of strategy too. You know, some guys pitted, took tires, and then some stayed out. So there was kind of some back and forth pit strategy going on. And like you said, at the end of the day, Phil Pappas comes out on top for BP Racing for Autism. Great, great shout out to Eric Zimmerman and those guys. They've been with us since day one. Not have always been one of the front, runners as far as team goes, but with the roster that he has this season, you're going to see a lot more of those guys in victory lane.
Well, I agree. And we talked about this in the preseason show for the Friday Night Cops series. And it was only, in my opinion, a matter of time when one of those guys was going to get into victory lane, Brady. And it's glad to see it happen, especially at an inaugural track. I mean, BP Race for Autism can always say that they're the first team to win at Milwaukee in NASRA history, a track we haven't gone to yet, but now we have. And I thought it produced relatively decent racing for being a short, flat track. Generally, those have been the struggle for a lot of NASRA series, but as we'll get into it later, I think we have a new struggle, and for some reason, it's 1.5 trials. But that is a future topic. We'll get into that later on the show. I would like to talk about Joey Doucette and Keith Bradley, and we're going to get into Keith Bradley more. I'd like to talk about Joey Doucette's run on Friday night, and it wasn't a great run. We generally do expect more out of Joey, especially on short tracks. He's generally, or flat tracks especially, he's generally very, very solid, generally a very solid driver at New Hampshire. I know you were or still are his boss, I believe, in the Friday Night Series. What was it? Have you had any conversations with Joey? What's that been like?
Uh, I mean, we tend to the way I do it. I know everybody's different. Because I'm the owner of Nazareth and I have so much on my plate. I mean, I have a family, I have to work, I have a lot of things going on. So I try to kind of delegate that work to Keith Bradley, the team leader, or Robbie Richards, the veteran of the team, who's been with me since day one. Try to get those two guys to but we always talk. The Mission One Esports group chats goes off daily. We're a close, tight knit group. When we have good runs, it's congratulations, but we're moving on to the next week, right? Because you want to celebrate a little bit, you want the guys to have fun, but at the same time, it's while we're here, it's hey, who's going to get the next one? If Keith won this week, let's get Joey a win, let's get Robbie a win, let's get Ashley up there and Ed. So the morale's good right now, even though we only had a couple of guys finish in the top 15 for team points, and we let Jeff Sickles and his guys with Swim Sick with It Motorsports cut that deficit to 15 points, I believe, from 39 to 24. So not really talking too much about last week. It's more about moving on and what we're going to do at Iowa.
Yeah, and you bring up Iowa, another short track. Obviously, not a short flat track like Milwaukee or New Hampshire. Really, Milwaukee's not that short; it's still a mile long circuit. But going to Iowa, 3/4 mile, higher banked oval, and I think we're a little bit worried about how some of these drivers are going to work here because it kind of races like a Richmond. It's designed after Richmond. For those who didn't know, are we worried it's going to be another wreck fest like we've seen at a lot of these short tracks in the past? And will that lead to maybe more suspensions and no qualifyings? Because we have a suspension, or do we, Brady, for tomorrow?
Yes, Stephen Thomas, driver to number 23. I mean, he's got three EOLs in back-to-back races. That's the kind of new rule we've gone with. And look, when we come up with these rules, and I try to tell everybody, it's a trial and run kind of deal, right? Season to season. Um, we have these two unique series that kind of stagger each other, right? We're in week 12 on Monday nights, and we're in week 5 on Friday nights. So we have, about a 7 to 8 week gap. If you look at off weeks and clashes and week one, that's whenever it's really set in stone, because the clash race is supposed to be a fun race. Then you have the dual races. We're really not we're really doing trial and error for the EOL reports. You know, we do it as a practice run. So you can almost say it's more of like a 13 to 14 week kind of deal spread out. So it's you got to run these rules through the season as they run. We don't want to change the rules as we go, right? We want to put enough data down on the table and say, look, this happened, this is working. Maybe we need to tweak this. I know you brought up some points about 2 weeks ago during the All Star break. Hey, we need to look at this. You know, there's guys bringing up self spins, uh, things like that. Look, the rule book is 25 pages long. I know it's a lot, but when you've established yourself in a league for 7 seasons, you have to have this kind of rule book in order to kind of make the racing better and grow as a league. So nothing's going to change with the current rule book as it states until Mondays is over, and then we can kind of tweak things and then go back to Fridays and tweak things there. And what's good about it, Tyler, is that they're two different series, right? There's two different, drivers. There's different drivers in each series. So you have things that happen on Mondays that don't happen on Fridays. You have things that happen on Fridays that don't happen on Mondays. So you kind of go back and forth and find a happy medium to establish and I guess promote those rules to each league to maybe have the same rules but also adapt to different drivers in each series.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. And honestly, it is a big challenge for a lot of these guys. Sometimes adapting to how the racing is extremely different on Friday and Monday nights. I know it took me a few weeks to adapt to how the Monday night guys run and get comfortable running around them. And I do feel very, very comfortable around these guys now. Well, maybe not so much after this week, but I digress. But I think we should talk about some of the bright spots right now in the Friday night series. And that's Adam Newton, really bright spot everywhere. I mean, he's second in points in the Monday night series. He has an average finish of 8.75 in the Friday night series. He qualifies really, really well week in, week out. Adam Newton for swim, I believe, swim,
Yep,
is just one of the biggest rising talents I think we have right now in Nazareth. And definitely a name that needs to be in championship contentions moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, look, uh, I've talked to Adam on the side. I respect him a lot on the track. We tend to talk after the race, even if it's just about life. You know, it might be deer hunting, and it might be other things. What's going on with work, and I've grown pretty fond of Adam Newton just because of the consistency he has. He's always qualifying up
Careless
front.
whisper, Brady. Careless whisper.
Yeah, yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. But no, I mean, look, he's a great guy. He's actually a league owner, so it's good to have people like that that you can go to and say, "Hey, man, how do y'all do it over there?" Or "Hey, this is what I'm dealing with." I have guys like yourself, Cody Knott, Justin White, Adam Newton, Jeff Sickles. I have those guys to lean on because I don't want it to seem like I'm a dictator and say, "Oh, well, Brady just did this because that's how he feels." No, and that's why I don't like to make decisions within a 24-hour period that the race has ended. There's a lot of guys that come and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" I'm like, I'm not talking about it because emotions are high, right? You don't want to make a judgment based on emotions. So no, Adam's a great guy. I talk to him a lot, and yeah, I mean, look, I know I've been high on Joey Styres. You've been high on anybody from Highline and Chris Cinnamon and
I picked Joey Styres to win the regular season championship. I don't think I'm not high on him.
I picked them to win the whole thing because I think he will be up there. But Adam Newton, I
He
always
has
want
to
to
be
say
in the
Newton.
conversation. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
has
has
to
to
be in the
be.
conversation now.
Yeah, and I'm not saying regular season. I'm saying Monday Night Championship.
No, no, I agree.
I think if I make it to the final six and he's in there, I'm saying today he would be my biggest threat.
Where's the championship race at? Charlotte?
Auto Club this season.
Dude, I forget. Auto Club still. I like my Hunter Parsons pick still. Auto Club. If he's in the Champ Six, a driver who's very good at Auto Club with Hunter Parsons, I mean that's a pretty good pick. But I agree. Adam Newton and Joey Styres definitely two other drivers who, if they make the championship six, are drivers to look out for. Uh,
Absolutely.
Looking at the team championship, Brady, it's getting smaller. It started 39 points 2 shows ago. What's it now? 24? It's getting tight. If your drivers keep spinning out of the lead on their own, you're gonna give up that lead pretty shortly.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get through Iowa. I know, man. We've made it hard on these guys. I think we tested them pretty hard. Going into season 7. We start off with Daytona. It's a crapshoot. I know how you feel about super speedway racing, so
Not
that's
real
why.
racing.
But you got Daytona, Vegas. Vegas could be wild, as you've seen behind me on Monday night. This
I don't
past
want to
Monday
talk.
night, it's wild. But actually, Friday night had a great showing at Vegas. They had a great race. But then you come to a first time track like Milwaukee Mile. I mean, New Hampshire, and then you back it up with the first time at Milwaukee Mile. Then you go to Iowa. These drivers are being put to the test on Friday nights, Tyler.
Yeah, I will say I don't love the fact we went to New Hampshire and Milwaukee back to backs. They're kind of the same racetrack. I mean, they are and they aren't. They do race a little bit differently, but not significantly. I wish we would have spaced them out. But yeah, if you want to talk about drivers who need to be good on the brakes, 3 straight tracks in a row: New Hampshire, Milwaukee, and Iowa. Drivers who have to be comfortable using that middle pedal uh, and really just making sure that they know what they're doing with it, and not making sure they know how to set their brake biases in a way that they won't spin themselves out or lock up the fronts going into the corner. So it should be interesting to see how the Friday night series pans out. But now we need to move on to the hot laps. Brady, the topics I have for you are certainly interesting, but the first topic you have for me really just makes me sad and mad. And I recommend, if you want to have a good laugh, go back to the race that you see in the background there. Go to around lap 65 and listen to an interview. I highly recommend if you want to have a good laugh.
Oh, absolutely. And look, this kicks it off with hot laps. We seen this wild race. You and I witnessed it. Cody was in that race. Cody, shout out to our producer Cody Knott, second place runner-up finish. Uh, I think that's his second one so far this year. He had a second place finish.
Kansas was his other one. Yeah.
So shout out to Cody Knott for getting that podium finish second. I was pulling for him to win. No offense to Zach. We'll get into that later on. But my first question with the wild race in the SimRacerHub.com Monday Night Truck Series at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. What happened, Tyler?
I'm gonna say the exact same thing I said on the broadcast, and it's a lack of patience and a lack of respect. Well, I don't know if it's a lack of respect. It's a lack of patience. It really is, and situational awareness, and guys trying to get too much too quickly. Now, I won't say I wasn't driving aggressively, but I was also being very respectful in how I drive aggressively. If you look in the background, I don't know if y'all saw, if you guys were watching stage 1 behind Brady, that white and purple 34 truck, when he's on the outside, does not go below the second seam ever, not once. And having that wherewithal for the driver on the outside is a huge thing at Vegas because the speeds are so high, and anything can happen, and it can end multiple drivers' night because the packs are super close together. Like you see a lot of pack style racing behind you. And when you have guys making early aggressive blocks, which happen multiple times, you have guys early aggressive side drafting, and guys who try to hold the bottom and fail to multiple times, you're going to get a lot of wrecks, especially at Las Vegas where the track is very, very bumpy. And that sucks because we had arguably, I would say, four of the 5 best trucks were wrecked out. And the 4 of the 5 best trucks that were wrecked out were you, Joey Styres, Joey Doucette, and myself. And it wasn't even, and then Hunter Parsons was, I think, the 5th best truck, but he got screwed by a caution while he was trying to pit. So again, it's disappointing because I know that these drivers are extremely talented and that we can do better.
Absolutely. And I would argue Justin Lumpkin. He could have been in the top 5. He always seems to run well there, and he admitted that he made a mistake. He apologized. I know you guys talked about it after the race and whatnot, but yeah, there was just, they say, well, it's tight racing, it's hard to pass and everything, but that's what track position's for. That's why you qualify early. But at the same time, you gotta let off. You can't just run over a guy. If you saw for the stage one ending, you and Joey were side by side, and I never once came and I might have gave y'all a little tap or whatnot, but I never took it three wide to where I put us in a bad spot to wreck us. For a stage win. I settled for third, and I kept going, moving on to try to win it. So
And
yeah,
then you made the mistake in stage two, but that's
yeah.
okay.
Well,
Uh,
that's just I
that,
mean,
that that's a hard thing because I will say something real quick before we move on to the next topic is that we don't have the spotters in iRacing are not extremely accurate. They don't give you lanes to your outside where the car is. They just say outside. They could be against the wall. They could be right next to you. You don't know that unless you have VR and you can look to your right or to your left. I don't have VR. I have a single 24-inch curved monitor. And my incident wasn't even because I had no awareness. My incident is I was held my line and I got turned.
yeah, I mean,
And that was your incident was more you just don't have that true gauge distance to your outside.
yeah, and me and Joey worked it out. We talked after the race. Everything's great with us. And I'm sorry that I took him. I ruined his race. I feel horrible. But at the end of the day, when you're in practice and you're on the apron, the inside truck, and you're going up, towards that wall, you're expecting the outside guy to kind of flow up there too, and then make the entry of the corner. And we
Especially
just
with
saw
as many laps left in the race that we have.
exactly, and we just saw guys Doring. We saw Brandon Broadfoot try to side draft down the straightaway, and I mean, you can't always
Yeah.
blame stuff on netcode. It just doesn't pay
Yeah.
attention.
No. And we all probably made mistakes at some point or another on Monday night, but Styers did too. Lumpkin did too. Doucette did as well. No one was really perfect, and it really made the race great for Zach Hartwig, but really not a great race in my opinion. And it has nothing to do with where we finished. It wasn't good. Moving on, we need to move on. My question to you, Mick Drizzle dominates Indy. Yes, that actually was one of his nicknames. He confirmed it on the Actions Detrimental podcast with Denny Hamlin. But who saw that coming? McDowell goes out and just whips everybody at Indy. It wasn't even close. He qualified top three, and he just absolutely dominated the field. Sorry, Chase Elliott wasn't gonna beat him. He just wasn't. Chase Elliott had to wreck AJ Allmendinger because he got bumped and got upset. McDowell dominated. What do you think of that? And is that the defining win of his career because of that 500? The yellow came out before he got to the finish line, kind of win.
Well, no matter what, I mean, a win's a win, right? Like it doesn't matter how you win them, range shortened races, anything. If they give you the trophy at the end of the day and you take it home, Tyler, it's yours. Except for Denny Hamlin, of course, where he kept the win from Pocono, but that's a different subject. Maybe later on in the show or another episode. But no, Michael McDowell, hands off to him. He actually questioned at the in his victory lane. When he was after he did his burnouts, it may have not been a dominant race, or it may have been. Dude, it was dominant. I mean, yeah, you had Suarez up there, Elliott. Those were the three best cars. You can argue Tyler Reddick and maybe Kyle Busch until he had his problems with his engine or whatever. But no, Michael McDowell deserved to win that race. He showed that he's a force to be reckoned with, especially at road courses. But yeah, I would say that this win is probably more special, not just because he dominated, but because his family was there. You could tell on the radio how much his family means to him. With I think it was Jamie McMurray made a joke yesterday on Race Hub, said that all 27 of his kids were in victory lane. So great for him. But no, I mean, it was a great win, dominated. Yeah, of course, you would have liked to have seen it be a little bit closer. Daniel Suarez had problems on pit road. Tyler Reddick. I mean, it was just a caution-free race. I mean, a great race, a lot of action. We saw guys get into it. We saw Joey Logano. Don't know what he was doing at the beginning of the race, but no. Michael McDowell did everything he was supposed to do. He learned from his mistake when he first went down the pit road and Suarez closed that gap on him. He was flawless getting in the second time, the third time, getting on and off pit road and just, drove away from everybody.
Yeah, and a lot of people are going to complain about the fact that there weren't any real restarts. There was that one restart. Honestly, I loved it. A natural, true race. Really made strategy kind of interesting, and you saw Battle start the field. No offense, this was significant improvement over last year's Indy road course. Do I still want Indy back on the oval? Absolutely, but but it was not a bad racing product, Brady. Arguably one of the best road races we've had in a while. And Michael McDowell, like you said, with his family there, his family wasn't at Daytona when he won that race because of COVID protocols and such. Family there kissing the bricks at Indianapolis. I mean, that has to be super special. And to not have the controversy of when the caution lights came out at the end of that Daytona 500 win. Yeah, Daytona 500 is the big one, but I mean, to win like that was impressive.
Absolutely. And I would have no problem with the road course and the oval being on the same schedule. I would at the same time, the same season. I would not have an issue with that at all. Next question, Tyler. Transparency. That is the topic. Um, with the big controversy going on with the whole EOL report and the penalties, etc., big topic of discussion today in the executives chat was transparency. Do we do a good enough job with everything we put on Discord for each series? Are we transparent enough to the drivers?
So, as someone who wasn't on the board for the longest time, was on the appeals panel for a while, have definitely done a lot of different things with Nazra, but also someone who was just really a driver for the first 2, 3 seasons, despite being here from the beginning. But I add, yes and no. And I don't want to sound rude when I say this, but I will say a lot of the transparency is really helpful, especially when it comes to the EOLs and the rules and such like that. But I don't know how much I love this idea, but I kind of do love it because now I'm a board member. I don't mind having people see what I say or think. That's why I'm on the show. That's why I do the interviews I give in the races, whatever. I
And I
think.
love it, by the way. I love it.
Oh yeah, someone's got to be the loudmouth, right? It's got to be one of us. Um, I think that the board votes for anything that's like original penalty decision, if we decide to vote on it, if it's like a big topic or big issue. And I also think the appeal votes should be made public. If you really want to push for transparency, Brady, that's what you have to do. Now, are you going to get guys who vote differently because their votes are public? Maybe. But if that's the case, then really should they be on the board or the appeals panel if their vote's going to be swayed by the fact that their vote's made public? It shouldn't be the case, but it might be. Maybe we have to readjust who's in what positions. That'd be my only argument for transparency. I think the movement with Adam as the appeals ambassador is a good one. I think that definitely improves transparency. If you really wanted to be transparent, do that. I don't think we have to be transparent about making the schedules, but everything else, that's fine.
Yeah, and I wish I had a minute and 45, but I don't. But
You asked the question.
I've always felt like I've been, and Cody and everybody else, we've been transparent with everybody. And maybe no, I'm sorry, Cody, you ain't got to do it. That was just a joke. But no, I felt like we've always done it. You know, we have the Discord, we do the payouts. I mean, schedules, session time, everything. You see it, whatever you need to know as a driver for the upcoming race. I feel like we put it. Now, it may not always be there with 6 days to go before the race. Sometimes it's 3. Cody and I have lives, but it's up there. And maybe I have, kind of gone from the point, and I know I'm going to go over, Tyler, don't call me out. But, usually, the driver, if they don't say nothing, you kind of just feel like they admit guilt, right? Like, hey, they see their name on the EOL report, they got the penalty, they're good with it. They know they messed up. But then all of a sudden, you hear a month later that they were mad about it because they didn't get a chance to fight for it. Well, you do. If you read the rule book in section 6, it's plain and simple. You are allowed to appeal a penalty after the report is out 24 hours. So a lot of times, Dana Shepard, he comes to mind. He's written me an appeal and sent it to me and did everything. And we went through the process and I explained it to him. It only happens if guys use it to their advantage. And I feel like some don't take advantage of it.
And real quick before I give you my next topic, I want to say you are correct, and that's on the drivers. Anything that is clearly delineated in the handbook, in my opinion, is on the drivers for handling on their side. Now, the argument was more about transparency. If it's in the rulebook, that's transparent, in my opinion. The only place we fall short is that voting thing. And in my opinion, I don't think we have to implement it, but if you really wanted to be fully transparent, Brady, I think that's how you do it. Also, nice wreck in the background.
And oh man, wait, let's watch this real quick.
Yeah,
Well,
everyone watch Brady just
yeah,
completely forget there's a truck to his outside. Doy.
yeah.
Also, Wesley Outland thought, or no, Michael McKinnon, I think, thought I turned you originally, and then they had a replay, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Dimmer wasn't even near them at the moment." I was like, "Mike, really? You thought I would turn Brady? Come on."
But I mean, I have, like I said in the past, when drivers have messaged me, and I've done it. I've done it with Jeff Sickles. I put him in the Discord. We talked about it with the board and whatnot, appeals panel, whatnot, and I have told them, hey, by a vote of 7-1, it was voted that you were indeed the cause of the wreck. You deserve the penalty and whatnot. So I feel like I've done it sometimes, but again, if guys don't say it, if they don't come to me and say, hey, I think you should be more transparent, how can if everybody's quiet, I just think that everything's going fine, right? So
Yeah. No, I get that. I totally do. Moving on, next topic, and we're going to go back to NASCAR. Well, we're going to keep with NASCAR. We'll go back to NASCAR in a little bit. But 8 drivers within 30 points of the Monday night cut line. It's so good, Brady. It's so good with 3 races remaining. Can any of them win a race? I don't care who gets in on points. One driver below the cut line right now to win a race. If you need me to pull up the names, I can real fast just so we have it. I don't want producer to have to switch screens. Your drivers right now outside looking in. Jacob Klinkart, Jeff Johnson Jr., Cody Knott, Steve Barnett, Chris Blanchard, Donnie Lyons, Tim Hammond, and Ed Osborne. Does one of those drivers make it in on a win, not points?
man, so Jeff Johnson, I guess we'll get into that later. He should have won
Oh
Vegas.
no, that's a topic I have. I think it's my
Yeah,
next question.
yeah, should have won Vegas. Jacob. I mean, he's dead even with Derek Kilgore at 20th, but Derek has the tiebreaker. I'm guessing because of stage points, bonus points.
Yep.
But Jacob, let's see, we're at IRP, we're at Canadian Tire, and then Daytona. Well,
He's a
Jacob,
solid road racer. He's a
yeah,
solid road racer.
man, you got Jacob Klinghardt, Steve Barnett, Chris Blanchard, Daytona guys, right? Tim Hammond, Daytona guy, Ed Osborne, Daytona guy. Wow. I mean,
Kyle
it's going to
Hess
be
is also
so
on the outside.
interesting. It's going to be so interesting. I mean, okay, I'm going to pick Steve Barnett winning Daytona.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
wow.
Steve Barnett.
I love Steve. No offense, Steve. I would not have picked him to win Daytona. I have seen some conversations though in the Heinlein Racing chat may indicate that he may be getting some help. Oh, Steve also put in the live questions chat. Barnett takes Daytona. Oh Lord.
I would say Steve Barnett. I'm just going to take a wild guess. If we had some mile and a halves, I would probably it would be a hard to decide between Jacob Klinghardt and Jeff Johnson because I mean he did show some speed. He showed that he could win. He has the potential to win. But if it was a mile and a half, I would say Jacob Klinghardt. But with Daytona, I'm calling it Steve Barnett will win Daytona, and that would be my pick for him to leapfrog from 25th to 20th.
Yeah, well, our producers in our ear saying 2 second place on mile and a half, Sneezy's chop liver. Well, producer, guess what? There are no mile and a halves left. It's a short track, a road course, and a super speedway. And you know what? I'm not even going to be at the road course, so really, as long as Blake Lothian doesn't show up, anyone can win that race, in my opinion. I would pick Sean Hamilton, though. I will say, like you said, I don't see a new winner on the road course. I see it being Lothian if he shows up or someone else. Short track, I'm also going to take either Lothian or Hunter Parsons. So, again, doesn't apply. Daytona. Chris Blanchard. I just, I got, yeah, I got a feeling. Chris. Sorry, Steve. I know we're going to talk later.
Well, moving on to my third topic, Tyler. It goes back to what we talked about a couple of minutes ago, I would say. The EOL rules. We have, if you get an EOL, your first offense, it's no qualifying. If you get 2 EOLs in one race, it's a DQ. Back-to-back races, it's a no qualifying plus a pass through on under green flag conditions on lap 1. And if a caution comes out, you have to wait and then serve it on the next green flag run. And then 3 EOLs in a row, you're suspended, as we're seeing Stephen Thomas, notable driver on Friday nights, has been here since day one. Championship, season five champion. Yeah, season five champion in that series is suspended. Our first driver, I want to say in Nazareth history almost, that we've suspended somebody.
Nah, I can think of a few,
Okay, well, in
but for
recent
different
time,
reasons. Different reasons, and
yeah,
definitely the most recent.
in recent time, how do you feel? What adjustments need to be made to the EOL?
Not gonna lie, I'd rather see a points penalty than a suspension. I would rather.
Well,
I
now, hey,
prefer a points penalty than a suspension.
if you get an EOL and you're not supposed to qualify, Michael McKinnon, Friday nights, he had no qualifying, wasn't supposed to qualify, did. He got a 15-point penalty for that.
I agree. I still think 3 in a row should be a 25-point penalty. 25, not 15. 25. It needs to be hurtful, but we still want fields. We still want big fields, right, Brady? I mean, it kind of hurts when we lose trucks because we're suspending people. Like, obviously, if it's blatant or egregious, we do need to step in and suspend drivers because that isn't acceptable. But I would rather a 25-point penalty. uh, Regarding the rest of the EOL rules, I really don't have a mind. And it's an important caveat with if you start passing your passer and then the caution comes out, it's your lucky day. You attempted and you started serving your penalty. Whatever happens on track's out of your control. So that does count. You don't have to come back down and redo the pass through. As long as you start it before the caution is out, it is a valid pass through here in Nazareth. So I'll say that. I don't mind either of those two penalties. I originally was not for the EOL for how we do it, which no qualifying, because I feel like stall selection is important. But then I realized that losing your stall really is the penalty, in my opinion. So I don't mind. And also, we reseed the EOLs based on practice speed, which I think is very fair. I think that's a good way of doing it. So I've come around on that a little bit. But yeah, I would rather see the one race suspension turn into a 25-point penalty, in my opinion, or 3 playoff points taken away. You essentially lose a win.
That just said, where was all these points whenever we were making the rules, Tyler?
You know what, Brady? I don't get to be on the group chat that often. Like I work crazy days.
Okay, you taking up my time. So great points. I like the ideas. I just wish they would be brought up more often. The guys that talk, we kind of, make the decisions based off of what's going on, and we then kind of move on because nobody else talks about them. At times, I think they're, you know, pretty horrific, but at times I think they make sense. And yeah, maybe we could have done a better job. I never thought we would see this, especially with a guy like Stephen Thomas, right? He has such a great reputation. We hope he comes back. But like I talked to Robbie real quick. Let me finish this statement. Robbie talked to me, and he kind of thought they were harsh, which you brought up. No qualifying, no pit selection. He thinks that, well, man, I'm getting the EOL in the race. It should be done at that point. Yeah, but at the same time, we saw Justin Lumpkin. He got into your door, side draft, and wrecked you. Your race is done. He gets the OL, but he's still going on. He's still on the lead lap. He's still racing. He'll get up front, and he could possibly go back up there and win that race. So was the penalty enough to kind of justify taking out the leader at that point in the race? So that's why you do get the no qualifying next week. You do get no pit selection and whatnot. So I like the 1 and the 2 and back to back. I think the 3, maybe we need to go to 4 in a row before it's a suspension. So
Yeah, the 4 in a row, that's a problem in my opinion. So I could see that, Brady. That's pretty fair. My topic for you is, speaking of Jeff Johnson Jr. and Keith Bradley, I wanted to save it for this. Choke jobs. No offense, but they choked. I mean, Keith Bradley spins out by himself from the lead at Milwaukee. Jeff Johnson Jr. goes a mile and a half before the restart zone. And that goes into not reading the handbook, like you stated, Brady, and not knowing the rules. Yeah, which one's worse? Which one's funnier? I think there's an obvious answer for both.
man, well, I would say Keith Bradley's funnier, right? Because I mean, just because it's Jeff's first season with us, so I'm not. This is not a shot at Jeff Johnson, especially if he's watching. I mean, shout out to him. Great run until he pulled a Brady. right at Talladega. He jumped the
That's
start
the first thing I thought.
restart zone, and man, I felt horrible for him because I was sitting on pit road. I'm wrecked, so I was like, when I hear TJ talking about it, our race control race admin, I'm like, wait, what? What happened? And I went back and watched it. I'm like, Jeff, you just gave this race away because at the end you saw Zach. We'll get into this later, but Zach won. He was like the cleanest truck. Everybody else had damage. Jeff had a clean truck, and I just think that he would have won that race if he would have not jumped that restart. I would say Keith's funnier, but Jeff's more of a bigger deal,
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Because Jeff's like, you saw the point. He's behind the cutoff line. He wins. He's in. He's not worried about being 1 point back. He's not worried about points the next 3 races. He's in the show. And for a driver like that, his first season, that's huge, right? Making the playoffs, showing everybody like, hey, it took me 3 seasons to win here. He wins in his first season in 11 races. So I think Jeff's is a big deal. And I know he's kicking himself for it. And I hate to, say that and add on to it. But yeah, big deal. Keith, yeah, it's just funny. I mean, you don't see those kind of things out of Keith Bradley. And I was actually laughing whenever I was watching it, Tyler. So yeah, it's just not like. And if you saw, he got caught up in the back and then had to avoid a wreck and ends up hitting the tires and ripping the whole front end of the truck. So yeah, Keith, that was a funny moment for you, son.
Yeah, man, that was. I watched it and I was like, oh my god, Keith just spun out on his own. Like you never see Keith Bradley do that. Like you really don't. You'll see him like make a mistake and save it and like get it back together, but to spin out on his own from the lead, and then you add insult to injury. Obviously, a self spins in EOL, which it should be. You're ruining the race by having us throw a caution, or there's a caution automatically thrown. And that just made it bad to worse. And Jeff, I feel bad for him, but man, honestly, I if he would have won at Vegas, I would have started drawing parallels to kind of my first year in NASRA because I didn't have a great season, and then I go to Vegas and I won, in like my 10th or 11th race, similar to Jeff. So I feel bad for Jeff. It's a bigger deal because, like you said, he could have been in the playoffs already. But Keith is that was so funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, next topic. This is my final question to you tonight, Tyler. It's the X rule and self spins. And a topic of discussion, especially from Vegas, as we've seen drivers with 2X sitting on pit road for 100 laps because of damage. And then we've seen guys like Jose Luis Rivera, barely any damage, but he has 22 X's in a race and got DQ'd because the X rule is 21 X's and you're DQ'd. And he felt like he was robbed of that because not all the X's were his fault. So this is actually a two-part question, Tyler. I hope you don't mind. But the first question is, with the EOL rules in place, do we need an X rule anymore? My second question would be regarding the EOL rule, self spins. If a driver spins out on their own, obviously they should get an EOL and lose their spot. But should they get no qualifying the next week because of it, or even DQ'd from a race if it's their second EOL? I know I put a lot on you.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with: do we need the X rule still? I'm going to say yes, and here's why. Because I don't care if it's not all your fault. You are putting yourself in positions to get caught up in stuff. We've had this topic after Michigan, right? Kerry Tribune and a couple other drivers got DQ in the last lap because drivers just keep running over each other. You can get a 4X if you bump someone too hard, and is that fair sometimes? Not really at like a Daytona or Talladega. But do you need to be pile driving the back of someone in Las Vegas or Milwaukee or IRP where we're going next week? No. I love Jose, and I got him his first win.
Too low or too high or in the right spot?
I think for Vegas, 21 was more than enough. Like it was. Vegas should be an easy track, should be a clean race. Was not. Very disappointing. IRP, we have 35 as Brady has disappeared from the screen, but we have 35 next week. For those of you watching at home, that's a lot. I'm sorry, that is a lot of incident points. Personally, I would have cut it to like 25. But that's my own personal opinion. Self spin second EOL get you DQ from the race. I mean, that's kind of a tough one. My thing is though, you caused another EOL earlier by not a self spin, if this is the scenario you're giving me. You wrecked someone earlier, and then you lost talent. You've affected the race twice now. Maybe we should move it to 3 EOLs in a race gets you DQ'd. Personally, like a 3 strike, you're out. Maybe 2's a little harsh, especially at a tough track, um, like IRP maybe, or Martinsville. So that one I can see the argument being made, but I like the incident still.
Yes, I was involved in the conversation with the X rule. I do see the side of it with because of the EOLs and drivers getting penalized because of the EOLs and being such a big deal. Man, you could make an argument that it really doesn't matter that we have an X rule, but it's there for a reason. Obviously, because you don't want it to be the Wild Wild West, right? And I think 21 is a sweet spot, especially for mile and a half. So it could be adjusted for tracks smaller or even super speedways and road courses. That would be a topic of discussion for a next episode. But I do like the X rule still being in place. As far as self spins go, I think the reason why it should still be in place as a DQ, and maybe it could be 3 EOLs, but excuse me, I still like it because of the team racing aspect of it. You don't want a guy who's in second and a teammate self spin, right? And cause a caution coming out with 5 laps to go just so his teammate can, make a run and maybe still a victory. So I do like it. And, it might be a topic for season 3 whenever we talk about the rules for that season for the SimRacerHub.com series.
Yeah, and with race manipulation, I think that goes a little bit different, more situational. My topic, though, final topic of the night for Hot Laps, it's the Cup Series cut line. And in my opinion, there are only 4 drivers who realistically have a chance in getting that 16th slot. I think unless we see 2 brand new winners in the last 2 weeks of the season, that Harvick and Keselowski are locked in. But that 16th spot up for grabs. Right now, Bubba Wallace has a 28-point lead over Daniel Suarez, and then it's about 40 points back to Ty Gibbs and about like 60 points back to Chase Elliott. But I include those last 2 drivers because those last 2 drivers are very good road course racers, and I think could get the job done at Watkins Glen. Of those 4 drivers, though, Brady, you have to pick one. I know you're a Chase Elliott fan. Who makes the playoffs?
Well, out of the 4 that you've given me, right? Suarez, Gibbs, Elliott, and Wallace. I mean, I think what we've seen from Indy this past weekend, you got to put your money on guys like Suarez and Elliott, right? We're going to Watkins Glen. They're going to run up front. I would assume that they would both run up front. But I'm actually going to give the edge to Chase Elliott. I don't think he's going to make the mistakes that Suarez is. I think the pressure is getting to Suarez. I know I'm a Chase Elliott fan. I get it. Hey, guilty as charged. But I actually don't think he wins at Watkins Glen just because there's so much hype around him. If you watch Race Hub this past week with Larry Mack and Jamie Murray, they're giving Chase Elliott the trophy already, and I think that's just bad voodoo in my opinion. Don't ever count guys like Tyler Reddick out. I think AJ Allmendinger is going to win at Watkins Glen. I know I picked him to win at Indy. He had a horrible showing at Indy. Him and Ryan Blaney. I don't think that whole thing's over with. But it wouldn't surprise me if AJ won at Watkins Glen. But yeah, of course, Elliott, has a great shot to win this week. I would pick him for your question to make it in. I think Keselowski and Harvick's a lock based on points. But it would be interesting to me, Tyler, and I think this would be really cool in my opinion. Chase Elliott wins at Watkins Glen, bumps Bubba Wallace out of the playoffs. We go to Daytona, and Bubba Wallace wins the race and knocks out Brad Keselowski or Kevin Harvick because guess what? It's only a 2-point difference right now between them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I looked at the points and I believe there's only 2 points.
Yeah, that's
So
tight.
it's going to go down to the wire no matter what. I still think at the end of the day, if I was putting money on it, Chase Elliott doesn't make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I like that you brought up AJ Allmendinger because if there is someone in lesser equipment to win at Watkins Glen, he's done it in the past. He can definitely do it again. That being said, Colin really hasn't had a ton of speed on road courses. I mean, I think they looked at his speed. He still probably only would have finished 7th or 8th last week if they just didn't get wrecked by Chase Elliott. I'm going to say it's going to come down between Daniel Suarez and Bubba Wallace. Because I don't think Chase wins Watkins Glen, and he's too far out to make it on points, and he won't win Daytona. Suarez will take the points lead going into Daytona by a couple of points over Bubba, because he'll get stage points. But Bubba is by far the best super speedway racer out of that group of 4. But does he get wrecked out being too aggressive? I say Suarez.
Oh, okay. And look, at the end of the day, neither one of us, you pick, by the way, you still owe me $20. I'm still
I
waiting on
know, I know.
that
You know
$20.
what? I thought about just saying keep it for my stage wins.
But maybe I'll keep that in my imaginary back pocket for now, and maybe we'll do another bet next episode or later on in the season.
I think we should do playoff brackets. I think
Okay.
that'd be a great episode. Us doing Cup Series playoff bracket and also Nazra playoff brackets. We have to
Well,
fill them out fully.
well, for the viewers at home, we're going to post that. I've been waiting. I got it made, but we can't really expose it
Can't
just yet
confirm it. Yeah, yeah.
because of the playoffs. But hey, week one of the playoffs, we got a bracket coming out. It's going to be $5 pick 'em. It's going to be a little side bet, winner take all kind of deal. We're going to fill out brackets. You can only fill out one, and
Yep.
guy with the most points is going to win that. But back to my deal, we wasn't even talking about Michael McDowell before Indy, you and I, Tyler, and he comes
No.
out and he dominates. So
I had him on my DraftKings lineup though. I knew he
who
was going to be
knows?
okay.
Yeah, but who knows what we're in store for at Watkins Glen is what I'm getting to. I mean, there's so many unknowns with this car and going to a road course. Of course, I mean, look, Chase Elliott hasn't won in this car. That doesn't, take away from him being the road course king, right? Because before this car, he had all the wins, 7 wins, and then he's had so many runner-up finishes. A top, I think his average is like 5.7 on road courses in his career. So come on, I mean, he has to be the favorite to pick. I just don't like so much talk about him winning this week. It bothers me. Stop talking about him, Jamie Murray. Stop.
Yeah, I think Tyler Reddick actually wins. If I'm being really honest, Tyler Reddick has not qualified outside the top 5 at a road course in the last year and a half. He's so good, and especially in this new car. Anyways, moving on. We got to move on, Brady. I will say this: you and I will reveal our brackets on the podcast. So people want to stupidly copy our picks, they can, or they can pick the exact opposite of us and try and win some money. But moving on to the Monday Night SimRacerHub.com Truck Series. You just saw me get wrecked in the background by that chaos. But Zach Hartwick gets the win. First ever career win in NASCAR. Congratulations to Zach and that 71 machine for and the Pulse Poppers 200, a company that sponsors his team. I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah, Warrior Racing. They have Pulse Poppers, maybe.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct. Yeah.
yeah. I know my things. Yeah, huge win for Warrior Racing, by the way. Getting a win as big as Las Vegas. It wasn't like a Daytona or Talladega. I kind of discount those wins. But a Las Vegas win's legit, even if the 5 best trucks get wrecked.
Actually, Zach races for Warrior on Friday nights. On
Damn it.
Mondays,
Who
he's
does he
with
race
Pit
for?
Splits with Joey Doucette, Ed Osborne, that whole bunch. Chris Blanchard runs that team.
It's so confusing, Brady.
Yeah. The guys race on different teams. But anyways, but he still look, and to your credit, he gave a lot of shout outs to Michael McKinnon, Cody Knott, those guys at Warrior that's helped him out. So I mean you were close, right? But huge in my opinion, it's the Cinderella story, it's the upset, right? No offense to Zach, but I don't think anybody would have picked him, as potential race winner. Look, a win's a win. I've done it. I'm sure you've had your fair share in iRacing.
Coda.
It doesn't matter how you win them. Your name still gets put on the plaque. Your name still gets put on the Excel sheet. Whenever no. When we look back at this past season winners, Zach Hartwick and that number 71 is going to be on there for Las Vegas. Shout out to Zach. I got my first win in Nazareth at Las Vegas, so me and Zach had that in common. But no, I mean, great job by him. He did what he needed to do, right? Cody finished second. Ed Osborne finished third. Like to see any of those guys, win that race, but great job by Zach. And a little inside information: the board. We were kind of going back and forth about it. To kind of make Zach a little bit humble, like take the win, take it, like let's not shy away from what happened during the race, But at the end of the day, a win's a win, and I know he's still, of course, you're still going to talk about it, right, Tyler? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
my first win, I think I celebrated it for like 2 weeks.
You think I give a crap that I beat Ted Wade on a road course because he decided to pit because he couldn't save enough fuel and I could? I beat Ted Wade. I don't give a shit. I think I also won a couple other races that season, but I beat Ted Way. That was cool because he's so freaking fast. Like, I mean, come on, yeah, a win's a win. I agree. Awesome for Zach. Unfortunate we had so many cautions. It was kind of disappointing. We were hoping to get away from cautions on the Monday Night Series, and it just kind of followed us to a track I wasn't expecting any. But I will say the trucks do handle differently right now, Brady. At Vegas, the bumps are significantly worse in 1 and 2 than they've ever been, in my opinion. And on top of that, the trucks are much more tightly packed. It's a lot harder to get separation now. I don't know if they need to cut downforce in half or if they need to add double the horsepower or what it is, Brady, but it really races like a Daytona Talladega now.
Yeah, and look, at times I like it. I still think tire wear still plays a
It
part, as we
does.
saw
It
in
does.
stage one with me, you, Joey up there. Because when we did pit stops and we were sharing information between Mission One Esports, I had the best tire wear. And I had to explain to Sean and Jacob Reeves, who was racing on my team that night, what I was doing compared to what they might have been doing. So tire wear still plays a factor there. We kind of pulled away. It was like a 3 truck lead, getaway kind of deal. So I mean it still plays a role as you saw because I think even Cody Knott finished second and Zach pulled away and was like a tenth faster than him a lap. So tires played a part at the end of the race a little bit to secure that victory. But you know we move on to the next topic for Monday Night Series, Tyler, and it's who's hot and who's not right now. And I'd like to know, name me 2 drivers who's hot and 2 that's not.
I'm not. Freaking holy crap, man. I suck right now. I can't buy a race finish to save my life. Horrible at Dover, great at Vegas, get wrecked, finished 20 something. Horrible. Ice cold, frozen. Mr. Frozone. Hot Adam Newton. I mean, it's the obvious pick right now, right? I mean, he's second now in points, within 20 points of myself, and closing the gap. I'm gonna miss Canadian Tire, so he'll probably pass me in points. He'll probably end up being the regular season champion. Let's get the points up here, Cody, just so I can know what I'm talking about. Because I'm a little stupid. Yeah, there's the points, everyone. You can't really see what the wins, but Adam Newton's within 20 points of me. Joey Styres kind of took a fall back because he got no stage points in stage 2, and I only finished 1 or 2 spots behind him. Who's not? It's hard. Uh, who's been falling down recently? All right. Yeah, Jose Luis Rivera is probably the easy pick. Spun out twice at a track he should be a top 5 driver at. Spun out by himself, Brady. So he's a who's not along with me. Other who's hot driver. Hey, let's say Zach Hartwick, man. He got the win. That's huge for him. Well, those are my hot and not.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, look, he gets the win. He's got to be hot right now, huh? And I mean, look, the tattletale is going to be IRP Canadian Tire, right? Because those, are not driver-friendly tracks. So we're going to a little bit more harder tracks. We'll see if he stays hot. Of course, Adam Newton. I mean, like we talked about his average start, average finish. It's in both series, not just one. So definitely hot. Joey Styres, I think he's still a hot driver. I mean, time and time again, and this is not because I wrecked him at Vegas. We see him every week in the top 5. We can make the same argument for Nathan Maurer. My drivers that would agree with you on Jose Luis Rivera. I mean, just step back and take a deep breath, calm down. Brandon Broadfoot, I think he's another one who tends to put himself in situations to wreck himself out beginning of the race. 25 laps into a 140 lap race, and he's wrecked. I know he came back and still finished ninth, but typically we see him not finish those races. I would say Jacob Klinghart. It's just Jacob to me. I don't really see him running up front like we do on Friday nights. I don't know if he's just trying to get familiar with the guys he's racing with.
I don't know. He's +4 in the power rankings, so Cody's formula is high on him. And hell, if we're going just based on the rankings, Brady, you're not, and so is who's the next? Brian Chu.
Yeah, Brian's at Disney though. he took a week off and went on vacation with his
Oh,
family.
okay. So that's a drop because of no result. So who was there? Joey Doucette maybe would be another who's not. He got wrecked out again at Vegas. Yeah, yeah. There's some movement here on this power rankings, Brady. I think that
I get it. I get the power rankings and everything, but at the end of the day, man, we're 3 races to go, and we're talking about Jacob Klinghardt not even making the playoffs in a top 20 driver.
well
Uh,
he has
just
he's missed a lot of races though.
yeah, it just doesn't sit well with me. I mean, Steve Barnett's another one. Computer issues, missing races and whatnot. You gotta get those points, start and park, do whatever you can. He could have tried to make a lap and ran 33rd and got some points, and he'd be a little bit higher up than what he is right now. So that's just my opinion. You take it how you want to, but I'm sticking with
Yeah.
it.
Nah, it's a very valid opinion, Brady. I don't hate it. Don't love it. Don't hate it. I got something for you. We've seen a lot of drivers get really pissed at each other recently. I think you and Joey talked about. Justin and I talked it down a little bit. Our rivalry is going to play a factor in the playoffs. There are drivers who definitely do not like racing around each other right now, and I will be the first to admit there are drivers, I won't name names because I don't need to make more enemies than I already have, who I do not want to be near right now because I want to turn them. And
Well,
Justin, you are not one of them, actually.
Well, it also depends on what you define as rivalries. Racing side by side, week to week. Being very close to somebody, like you just said. I'll tell you right now. I think me and Joey Stires is going to be a rivalry in the playoffs. I think we're going to be competitive to one another. I think Kerry Tribute and myself could be rivals. We saw it last season. It hasn't really transpired over to this season, but could potentially be. Um, I actually think there will be two teammates that will be kind of like a little bit of rivalry going on. And that's you and Hunter Parsons. I think that's a potential for a rivalry, and it's an in-house deal. Being teammates. Joey Doucette, Robbie Richards. I think that's a rivalry in the brewing. Um, so it's just you kind of look at who's battling in these races as you and I get to witness every Monday night. And I see, Robbie and Joey go back and forth. I see, a couple of guys. They're a little bit more vocal about it than others, but I think quietly, as I just named a couple of those guys, yeah, I mean, Adam Newton, like you just said, man, Adam Newton's just such a clean guy. Maybe we'll see some guys get in
It's
there,
it's hard to
battle.
be a rival with Newton because he runs so clean, and you kind of don't
Right.
dislike the guy. You know what could be a great other in-house rival? Nate Maurer and Robbie Richards. They are within 9 points of each other in the standings. They are right next to each other. They have they have the same amount of top tens. Maurer has more top fives. They both have a win. I mean, they have the same amount of stage points. Holy crap. I mean, they are identical week in, week out. And I don't think a rivalry, like you said, has to necessarily be like an aggressive thing. It could just be who you're around a lot. But I'm more hinting at the aggressive type relationship, a guy who's not going to give an inch. And I could see you and Joey Styres being that now. Yeah, you say you're all good, but I mean, Joey Styres races very aggressively, very clean for the most part, but very aggressively. And you're not always one to lift in certain situations, Brady. I could see that leading to blows. Maybe not, wrecking, but shoving people out of the way for wins later in the season.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, or even blocking. I've been known to block Stephen Thomas,
You are the
Justin
most
White.
annoying blocker in the world.
So I mean, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, but I think it's fair game, right? If I block you, I expect you to push me into the corner, and I've seen that with Steven. I've seen that with Justin. Hey, we neither one of us wreck, so
Push you
me
into the outside
especially.
fence is where I'll push you.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. And I mean, I think it's gonna be an interesting playoffs. I think it's gonna be exciting playoffs, especially with these 3 races to go. Lucas Oil Raceway, IRP, is what it's also known as. Mosport, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and Daytona International Speedway. I know we've seen aggressive racing at Vegas. I think, like you said, you can't really judge IRP We don't know. Road courses are going to be road courses. You're really not going to see a lot of cautions there besides the one stage break, in my opinion, just because everybody gets spread out on road courses because it's all about surviving. But that Daytona race, Tyler, I think this Daytona race, it being the last race before the playoffs, is going to be so wild. I almost don't know if I even want to race in it. It's going to be that wild.
I am so sad I'm missing the road course because I think that race will be a lot of fun. I think it will be a lot of fun. Well, okay, let me rephrase. It'll be a lot of fun for those of us who like road courses and like, you know, heel and toe and throttling on the downshift and all that stuff. It's definitely a unique animal. Daytona, I am not looking forward to. I hate super speedway races. I have to run it in the odd chance that Newton or Stiers slips up in the next week or two, has a bad points day, and I still have a chance at the regular season title. I have to still run Daytona. But Brady, man, if I was like sixth in points right now and knew I wasn't going to fall out of the top 20 and Daytona, I'd be taking the week off, be like, I'm to save my anxiety and hatred for super speedway racing.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a fun one. And I also think it's going to be somebody, I think, well, like you said, if Blake shows up because he tends to run good at places like IRP and Canadian Tire, but that Daytona race will not
Crapshoot. It's a crapshoot, especially the fact that we don't have a
well,
team like up front.
I would be willing to bet you that it's not going to be won by somebody that already has a win this season.
Double or nothing.
I would double or nothing on that one. $20 says we will have a new winner and it will come at Daytona. Not saying a new winner won't win because you could have Hunter Parsons win at IRP easily.
Very. Oh, does
think,
Hunter not have a win still? What the hell?
no, I'm pretty sure he
Nope,
does.
no win. Yeah, you're right. He's just consistent.
So, I mean, I could see him winning. I could see, I really don't have too many road course races with this group besides what, two or three to kind of, I want to say two we've only ran so far.
Yeah, we only run two. Watkins
So,
Glen and Charlotte Roval.
I would say Daytona, if we're going in with it, we're going to have a new winner of the season at Daytona.
Yeah. Yeah. Another Highline driver, super competitive. I think you see a rivalry with myself or Hunter. Jason Morales, all relatively close in points. Anyways, we need to move on to the next topic of the Monday Night Series, and really we've covered a lot of things. But let's look at the team point standings. Our producer has it ready, and that lead keeps us shrinking for Highline. Yeah, Brady, we should just stop picking people to win titles because all they'll do is not win them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what's hurting Highline is,
The fact I got wrecked out.
Well, besides that, the full driver list is not there. The roster's not showing up every week. Morales seems to be there. Porson seems to be there. Dittmer. Blanchard's been getting into a couple of incidents here and there, so not really helping out the team that much. But yeah, Brute Force is, chomping at the bit. They gained 2 points from 6 to 4. So they're only 4 points out. That's 4 races. If they finish ahead of you guys in 4 races, it's a tied ball game, and we have 11 races to go. So this thing's not over. I think it's going to be between you guys and Brute Force Motorsports, Robbie Richards, Nathan Maurer, Jacob Klinghardt, Carrie Tribute, Justin White. So it's going to be a battle to the end, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a battle between probably those teams. I wouldn't discount Swim with the way that Adam Newton's running right now. Like, that team is still very much in it. He could be a one-man wrecking machine at this point for Swim. He could lead them to the promised land all by his lonesome. So I won't discount him, but I'm going to give you a hard time. And our producer put it in one of our chats. Your team is behind Warrior Racing, our producer's team, by 2 points. Yeah, so get wrecked, Brady.
Yeah, we'll be ahead of them, and probably next week. We'll be after their IRP. We'll be ahead of them. We've had some driver changes. I actually have some big news about our lineup next season. I'll save that for a later date. Maybe we'll have a video that might come out. But Mission 1 will not be 5th or 4th next season. That's all I have to say about that.
What, you're signing me and I just don't know about it yet?
Well, I wouldn't do that to my good friend Jason Morales.
I know. I'm just giving
Um,
you a hard time. Who
but
else are you gonna get? Keith Bradley to run on Monday nights too? That's literally your boy.
no, he's not
No, it's
running on
definitely.
Mondays. Let's just say that.
Is it
Just
someone currently running? Can I ask that?
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it's someone currently running on
Of
Monday
course,
nights.
of course, it's I'm going to be back with Mission One. Sean Hamilton, we signed a deal for an extension. Sean's going to be back with Mission One for the next season. Tim Hammond's going to be back. So that's the three drivers on the team this season. That's going to be on the team next season. We have two new drivers coming on board with us, and both of them have raced so far this season.
They've raced so far this season. How fucking mysterious. Blake Lothian's my first pick. Anyways, moving on to who wins Lucas Oil Raceway Park. Who gets it done and why? And then we'll move on to the final lap.
I just think Hunter Parsons. I think he's due for a win for one. We've seen him run well at shorter tracks, especially the ones where you kind of run a little bit higher than you do, just diving it in there. I think Hunter Parsons gets it done. Uh, it just fits his style of racing as long as he doesn't mess up and wreck anybody or does anything unconventional. I think Hunter Porson gets it done. And I mean, I would like to see him in victory lane. I'm a fan of him. I respect Hunter a lot. I appreciate him showing up. So I'm going to say Hunter Porson gets it done.
I don't hate the pick. I actually was gonna pick Hunter. I don't know if I'm allowed to still pick. I mean, I think I'm allowed to still pick him. I think Hunter wins. Unless Blake Lothian shows up, and then Blake's gonna wipe the floor with us. Um, no offense, but this is one of his best tracks. I think.
We've seen Blake in the past run here and make
Yeah.
mistakes.
Well, yeah. I highly recommend for those of you who haven't seen, go look back on the Nazra. It's not on Nazra. It was on a different network, I think, at that time. But go back, try and find our race at IRP.
Actually, on LSR TV, I actually had the link posted in the simracerhub.com Discord. So if anybody wants to see it, join that Discord.
It's a good race.
It was a good race.
Until I got killed by Zimmerman.
That was season 4. Season
Yeah.
4, LSR TV. Nazra, you can just search LSR TV on YouTube, Nazra, and then put IRP or Indy. It was the 8th race of the season, so round 8 Indy.
Yep, great race until I got wrecked with like 10 to go. I think I was running like top 5 the entire time, then I got spun. Really sad, made a mistake. That's my fault. Moving on to the final lap. Brady, again, quick moments. Thank you all of our sponsors here at Nazra, Darren's Nail Gun Repair, Serve Pro, Nazra 360 Racing Network, DSR Electric, Pulse Poppers, SimRacerHub.com, Concerns of Police Survivors. Who else are we missing? The Glass Mechanic, Millie's Restaurant and Catering, Blanchard's Towing and Recovery. There's so many great sponsors. Butt Kicker, awesome sponsor we have.
Butt Kicker's awesome.
Yeah, Glass Mechanic, that's my sponsor. Shout out to them. Glad I won the Glass Mechanic Stage 2. Did it just for you, Mr. Morales, out in Phoenix.
Garage that sponsors our playoffs on Friday nights.
Yes, they do.
Plaques. Oh, I need to check on the plaques for Friday nights. Get those sent out to those guys. SimRacerHub.com. Great job by Clinton Sneed, all those guys over there at SimRacerHub.com. We love to use it for our points in our league. I know a lot of guys use it. Easy program to use. So great job. Shout out to Clinton Sneed.
Our systems as well. But now that we've thanked most of our sponsors, we're probably forgetting a few, but we'll get to them eventually. Time to move on to the final lap. 15 minutes, because I know our producer Cody Knott needs to be out of here so we can go to some stupid dinner or something. I don't know. Something more important here. Oh, Starbase Comics, another big one. Warrior Wraps. 15 minutes on the clock. You start it when I finish asking my question, Mr. Producer Man. Race picks for this weekend in NASCAR Xfinity and Cup Series.
Oh, man.
Well, there's some Cup guys in the Xfinity Series. Ty Gibbs, Alex Bowman, to name a few.
Well, I mean, Ty Gibbs is on a hot streak right now. He won at Indy. He won by 8 seconds, I believe it was.
Dominated.
So, I mean, it wasn't even close. I mean, it's just more track time for him to get for the Cup, race and whatnot. I think the Xfinity core fits his driving style very well. I'm not going to count out Justin Allgaier or even John Hunter Nemechek, but I actually think Cole Custer gets it done. Uh, I think Cole Custer just road racing fits his style. I think he needs to rebound and race a little bit better. We saw the one before Indy. He finished third, I believe, in Portland, and then he won the one before that. So I'm gonna take Cole
Kyle,
Custer.
Kyle Busch is in a calling card this weekend in Xfinity, by the way. He is replacing AJ Allmendinger. I'm going to take Sam Mayer. Won at Road America, had a pretty solid showing at Indy. Kid's got some talent on the road courses. He's finally found his groove for JRM. JRM having more success with Sam Mayer than they are with Josh Berry at the moment. So I'm gonna ride with the kid. I think he gets another one done. Cup pick.
Oh man, I just think as much as I'm gonna do it, AJ Allmendinger just seems to be the pick here. That's just my opinion. I think he's going to run a lot better than he did at Indy. I think he's going to rebound. Just Watkins Glen. I mean, he has so much track time there, not just in this car, but in other cars. And we've seen him win there before. I think he he's going to rise to the occasion. The pressure's on him to get it done. I just think AJ Allmendinger gets it done, and it's hard not to pick him.
I know I said Tyler Reddick earlier. I'm changing my pick to Kyle Larson. Just
Oh,
too good.
good pick now. Good
He's
pick.
just too good. He's too good there.
Shout out to William Byron. He started in the back, had to do a pass through. I know that.
Yeah, it helps though there wasn't any cautions. Really.
Yeah, he drove all the way up to 14th.
Great run.
No caution. So William Byron might could also be a good pick too, right there.
Yeah, well, now it's time for your topic, Brady.
Well, does Milwaukee make a reappearance?
I hope so. I like Milwaukee, but it's hard to justify it sometimes, especially if you have New Hampshire on the schedule. They're really similar. If I had to choose one, I prefer Milwaukee over New Hampshire personally. I think the track has more character. But yeah, I hope we see it back. But I wouldn't be shocked if it's another year or two.
Well, to be fair, we raced it for the first time on Friday nights. The Monday night series will actually see it in a couple of weeks during the playoffs. So some of those guys that ran that Friday night race have a little bit of advantage over guys like you and I guess, so far, and guys like Joey Stiers who don't run that series. So it's going to be an interesting race, as we saw on Friday night. It can be an interesting race. So we're going to race it. We raced it on Friday nights. We're going to race it on Mondays. I can give you a spoiler alert. It's not on the season 3 schedule, so we won't see it.
I did
We
see
won't
that
see it
spoiler come out.
maybe until season 4 for Monday nights. Uh,
Yeah.
but who knows? We might see it in season 8 for Friday nights.
I think next week we should have a schedule reveal for the season 3 schedule. I know it's gone out to the drivers, but for the fans and other drivers and other series, I think we should do that maybe next week.
Well, we typically do that, Tyler, on the broadcast, and then we can also
Yeah.
do the podcast.
I think we should talk through it. I think we should. I think it'd be a fun topic.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
But I would wait. Let's wait for about 2 more. Let's do it the week of
Let's-
Daytona, baby.
Yeah, either week before or week after Daytona.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. Does Zach Hartwick win another race this season?
Oh wow. Well, we have Daytona, we have Talladega.
He has a chance there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, anybody has a chance to win at Talladega, Daytona. That's why we put them, twice on the schedule. Guys like it, drivers like it. I know you hate it. I
Yeah.
don't really like it in the sense of I know Friday nights before we've only ran Talladega and Daytona once.
That was so much better,
Had
Brady. It
2 super speedway races. I want to say it was season 5, maybe.
was a great
But
season.
but I like having 4 on there, just because of the numbers. The guys, they want to race that. Everybody feels like they have a shot, which
But with Atlanta, do we need to have them both twice now? That's my thing. With New Atlanta, can we drop one of them for a second race? Like only once at Talladega in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, but are we? There's a lot of discussion about running Old Atlanta, bringing Old Atlanta back. It's on the schedule for Friday nights.
But they also are still running New Atlanta too. They're running both.
Right. So in that's another topic. Do we put one of them maybe in the All Star race to get guys to show up for the All Star race more for that off week, or to have more of a spark in the All Star event with
Yep.
guys being able to anybody could win it. So maybe we take it out of a points event and we put it in a non-points event. So if you still want you don't want to run that race because of the super speedway, you could take it week off and no harm, no foul. But uh, I would still say no matter what, run 4 super speed races. But maybe we can do a clash, or maybe we could do an all-star race instead of a points race, and add a track that we've never been to. Like you're going to see the clash for Monday. We've never been to the Twin Ring. It's going to be on there for the clash. Adam
Yep.
Newbert, shout out to him. He picked it. He wanted it on there, so we're going to go there and race the clash. And that might even be a points event later on.
Yeah, I will say I like the idea of heats and such for the All Star race, but making it still that exclusive event we did kind of with Eldora. But if you move it to Talladega and make it like 30 laps, I think that'd be the most entertaining 30 laps you'd ever see in one of our NASCAR series for the main 30-lap main and like 10-lap heats. That would be nonstop because you have to go, go, go. You can't sit around as much. Like 30 laps is not a long time. I would like that. That's an idea.
Yeah, and look, hey, you're on the board. Bring it up for discussion whenever we have that little meeting before
Yeah,
next.
but then I'm gonna go and have a beer and forget about it. It's a whole
Well,
thing.
you need to start jotting these things down,
I
David.
know. I have great ideas. I just never remember them.
Why don't you text the group message right now so we don't forget about them?
Yeah, I'll do that as soon as while we're debriefing the show.
Okay.
Biggest disappointment in both series so far this season. We've talked about it a lot for the Monday night series. I don't think we need to go into any more discussion for them. But for the Friday night series, biggest disappointment so far.
I'll hit on both of them because I see pros and cons about both of them. I tell you what I'm really excited about is that we've run 11 races and we have 9 different winners. I
Yeah,
think
it's great. Blake Lothian's the only double repeat winner.
I will go on and counter that with Friday night series. We've done 4 races and we have 4 different winners: Morales, Bradley, Doucette, Pappas. So we're trending in the same direction. That's what it was designed for. That's what it was created for. It's not just a one-man show or a 5-man show. You show up and you can win, as we saw with Zach Hartwig showing up. That's why you show up. That's one of the things I told Zach was this is why you show up every single week. You have a chance to win. So I think we've done great jobs with that. But the question is disappointment. And for Friday nights, it's easy. It's the numbers 28, 28. I think we're averaging right at 30 drivers, which we saw a lot of guys show up for Daytona and miss. That's what's maybe kind of open up the discussion. Do we open up with Daytona just to see if we get the super speedway guys in there, and then we move on to the rest of the schedule and see, actually who's committed and who's not. But yeah, the biggest thing would be that I would say the racing on Mondays in the aspect of the number of cautions.
Ridiculous.
I understand that, with the tight competition, the tight racing, guys are going to get into it. But some of the things we've seen or witnessed, and I know the guys still, the group is new, right? Not everybody's familiar, but we're 12 weeks into the season. We're going into week 12. Some of the things that still happen shouldn't happen. But it's also the same thing on Friday night. We've raced, Tyler, we've been together going on 3 years now. And when we did this EOL report, these rules, I thought it was going to affect more of the newer guys. And we're starting to see a lot of the veterans, get hit with. We got Keith Bradley on the EOL report this week, Joey Doucette. We've seen Robbie Richards on the report, Stephen Thomas, Adam Newbert, Hug Wigginton, Michael McKinnon. The list goes on and on. The veteran guys, and I get the pros and cons. I get the, hey, well, this guy did this and that, but you still have to maintain a reputation of driving clean and racing clean. Guys should be able by now to race side by side and not have to worry about getting turned into a corner or getting wrecked coming out of a corner. So I would say that's my disappointments.
Yeah, I'm gonna say if I'm picking a driver, it's probably Michael McKinnon on Fridays. He's run all 4 races. He's still in the playoff points, but he's 17th in points. Hasn't really had a great time. No top tens, no top
Well,
fives.
real quick, Tyler, he was in 12th, but because of the 15
Yep.
point penalty, he dropped him down to 17th.
Yeah, but still, 0 top 10s. It's not what we expect. You could say Chris Cinnamon, but Chris Cinnamon's only run 2 races and he has top fives in both. So I don't think you can say he's been a disappointment. He's just been not showing up. Taylor Peacock, 1 top 5, 2 top 10s. That's not bad. Yeah, I agree with you. The cautions is really bad. I do want to say, unless you have another quick topic, I want to take some time to say I do apologize to Justin Lumpkin for my frustrations the other night. I realize he made a mistake. I forgave him for that. We have talked about it. But I do want to make this clear, especially for those watching on Facebook. I've already kind of gone over the comment section. So I do realize Justin made a mistake. Justin and I've talked about it. We're good about it. We have to sometimes stir up some controversy just to get people interested, get new storylines. It's a part of it. Brady, it's still entertainment. We're trying to provide some entertainment for people. I really don't feel any disdain towards Justin. That being said, there are other drivers I have some disdain for on the Monday Night Series right now. But Brady, if you have any quick topics to discuss.
Another topic going into your point, about communication during the race comms. What people say on this show, whether it's a guest or it's us. Um, uh, in the race, outside of the race, in the Discord. I've gotten rid of post race fights just because I felt like it was kind of an overlap from driver chat. But at the end of the day, I want guys, I feel like I try to set the example right because I'm looked at different because I run things and I race with you guys. But look, it happened. Joey didn't say anything on the race comms. I didn't say anything. TJ gave me the EOL. I took it. And then after the race, I went back, looked at the replay, analyzed the situation, reached out to Joey. I said my piece. He said his piece. I told him what I thought he was going to do. He told me what he thought I was going to do. And it just didn't work out for us, right? And there was no offers. There was no deals made. It was just, hey, man, made a mistake. My fault. I apologize for it. And he's like, bro, you're good, because I guess what helps is when you have that reputation of not making those kind of mistakes too, right? If it was somebody else, it might be a different story. But the race comms have gotten out of control also, and I want guys to have emotions. I want guys to voice their opinion, if they felt of any wrongdoings or whatnot. But at the end of the day, a race is still going on, right? We don't want to hear what happened on lap 15 and we're on lap 75, right? There's a point where you have to say your piece and drop it. I don't mind the emotions whenever it first comes out, but when it gets out of hand, I hit my push to talk button, right? Because I put my name on the race control because I'm an admin, and so I can block a lot of that stuff out. So
Yep.
I want guys to say their piece in time and be respectful about it. Guys, when you're in the truck, watch, before you make a really, really strict, opinion about this situation, go back and look at the replay.
Yep.
Net code has been a big, big topic in the races. Everybody wants to say, oh, net code, net code. You can't always blame it on net code when you're going from the third lane down to the first lane and taking a guy out and right hooking him.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't mind people saying things on broadcasts, on podcasts, because again, this side of it's more entertainment. But when we're in the session, I think it's always better to just err on the side of be respectful and be calm, and cooler heads prevail later on. But Brady, before this time ends, Iowa pick tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. The Cops Truck Series takes on Iowa. Who is your winner?
Oh man, Iowa.
No, Steven.
I'm gonna go with a new winner, first time winner, and I'm gonna go with Justin White.
I will take.
And shout out to Jason Morales. Justin actually
Yeah.
raced for Highline on Friday night. So
He does. He does. There's some silly season news coming with Highline for Monday nights for next season. Ashley Dodson, my pick. I'm gonna take the Australian.
Oh, I like that pick too.
I like Ashley. He's a good dude.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Producers taking Adam Newton. I thought about taking Adam Newton.
Yeah.
Damn you, Cody. I think we should start keeping track of race picks and give each other points and stuff for see how we do. We'll start doing that. So we'll have our producer write up our race picks on a sheet somewhere. I'll write them up somewhere. We'll talk about it, and then we'll get back to you. But we've locked in those 3 for tomorrow night. Thank you all for tuning in. Brady, any parting shots to the viewers before we call it a show? I know our producer has a dinner to get to.
Yeah, y'all go out to subscribe to Nazareth 360 Racing Network at YouTube or Facebook. I was looking at my Yahoo email address. Sorry.
God.
But yeah, go out and check out the race tomorrow night at Iowa for the Cops Truck Series on Friday nights, and then tune in at IRP. We got 2 short tracks, kind of short track races that's going on in Nazareth. So check out and don't forget to sign up for the Nazareth 250 at Daytona International Speedway. Qualifying's next Thursday. We're running 1-month-long events. We're qualifying. It's going to be broadcasted. Both duels are going to be broadcasted, and the big race is going to be broadcasted. So go get signed up. Join that Discord.
Yeah, we may have an all-star booth for the final race. I know I can't compete because I will be missing both the duel and the qualifier, but maybe I'll hop in the booth with Brady and Wesley for the big one. It'd be a fun time having us all in the booth together. Maybe I'll be a pit road reporter or a Larry Mack style guy. It'd be a lot of fun. Big event, a lot of money on the line there. We're looking to have a lot of fun with it here. Something new we're trying out with Nazareth, a real big event. So yeah, again, big plug for that. Again, plug for the Concerns of Police Survivors Truck Series tomorrow night in Iowa. Then Monday, we head to Indianapolis Raceway Park, IRP, for some short track racing. I'm going to need a muscle relaxer probably for it because that's going to be stressful. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. That's Brady LaBeouf. I'm Tyler Dimmer. I don't have a paper to throw. I'm really sad, but we'll see you guys. Thanks, Brady, for doing it for me, throwing air. Cody, not our producer. Big shout out to him. We'll see you guys next week on the Hot Lap.